My dater-in-law spent $700 on a coffee machine. To make room for it on the porch, she dug up the bushes my husband and I planted 15 years ago. My memories were valued at less than her morning cappuccino. It wasn't just disrespect, it was a price tag they put on my life. Hello and welcome. It means a lot to have you here. Let me know in the comments what city you're watching from. Now, let's get into the story. My own son said the words. He said them in my own house. He looked right through me. Stop arguing with my wife in her house. That was it. The woman he knew as mother died. She just faded away right there. On the porch, I helped his father build. A new woman was born in her place. She was the one who went inside. She was the one who picked up the phone. She was the one who changed the locks. It started slowly 3 years ago. Michael brought Jessica home after the wedding. They needed a place to stay. Just for a little while, they said. Save up for a down payment. I understood. This house was big. Too big for just me since Frank passed. Their boxes filled the spare room. Then they filled the garage. I didn't mind the noise at first. It was nice hearing life in these halls again. The quiet had been a heavy blanket. Their presence felt like a window opening. That feeling did not last long. Jessica had ideas about the house. She called them updates. She started in the living room. The warm yellow walls Frank loved. She called them dated. She painted them a flat, cold gray. She said it was more modern, more sophisticated. I watched her roll the color over my memories. I didn't say a word. I wanted peace. I wanted my son to be happy. He seemed happy. So I bit my tongue until it bled. The curtains my mother made were next. They were replaced with cheap plastic blinds. They clicked and rattled in the breeze. Jessica said they were cleaner, more minimalist. The family photos on the mantelpiece vanished. One by one, they went into a box. She put them in the attic for me. In their place, she put up their wedding portraits. Big, glossy photos of two smiling strangers. They looked like an advertisement. A perfect couple in a perfect house. It wasn't my house anymore. It was their showroom. Michael saw the look on my face. Jess just wants to make it feel like home, Mom. That's what he said. He didn't ask if it still felt like my home. His paycheck was good. He was a senior developer at some tech company, $120,000 a year. Jessica was a paralegal. She worked for a big firm downtown. They were successful, they were smart, but they didn't seem to have any money saved. They were living here for free. That saved them at least $2,500 a month. I never asked for a dime. Rent, utilities, groceries. I covered most of it. I thought I was helping. Now I see I was just making it easy for them. Her work friends started coming over. They held brunches on my patio. They would sit on the new gray furniture, the furniture she bought with Michael's credit card. I'd hear their loud laughs from the kitchen. I would be in there making coffee, serving them orange juice. They spoke to me like I was the hired help. Oh, this is lovely, Carol. They never used my last name. I was just Carol, Michael's sweet old mother, the one who lived in the back room. Jessica would stand there, the perfect hostess. She would talk about her work, about closing big real estate deals. She was obsessed with status. She wanted to impress the senior partners. My home became her stage. She used my porch for her parties. She used my kitchen for her cooking. She never once asked permission. She just took. She took over my space. She took over my life. Michael would just stand there and smile. He was proud of her. He would wrap his arm around her waist. He loved her ambition. He never saw the disrespect. Or maybe he did. Maybe he just chose to ignore it. He would see me washing their dishes after. Thanks, Mom. You're the best. He'd kiss my cheek. Then he'd go upstairs with his wife. The door would close. I would hear their television through the floor. I stood in the quiet kitchen, surrounded by their mess, feeling like a ghost in my own life. My 69th birthday came around. I didn't expect much. Maybe a quiet dinner at home. Jessica announced they were taking me out. A special treat, she called it. I got my hopes up. I put on my good blue dress, the one Frank always liked. They took me to Applebee's, a noisy chain restaurant by the highway. The table was sticky. The music was too loud. They ordered me the cheapest special on the menu. They sang a quick, clumsy, "Happy Birthday." Michael checked his phone the whole time. Jessica talked about a difficult partner at her firm. They thought they had done their duty. A birthday dinner for the old lady. Check the box. They paid the bill and we left. I sat in the back of their car. I watched the streetlights flash by. I did not feel celebrated. I felt managed, an obligation that had been met. The final straw wasn't loud. It was quiet. It was brutal. It happened on a Tuesday morning. I went out to water my garden. My hydrangeas were my pride. Frank and I planted them 15 years ago. We put them right by the porch. They got the perfect morning sun. Their big blue flowers were famous on our street. They were the last living thing he and I had created together. That morning, they were gone. Just a patch of raw, overturned dirt. My heart stopped. I looked around, confused. Then I saw them, my beautiful bushes. They were shoved into a dark corner, behind the garage next to the trash cans. Their roots were exposed. Their leaves were already wilting. They were dying in the shade. I walked over to the porch. A new thing was there, a huge metallic monster. It was a professional espresso machine. It gleamed in the spot where my flowers used to be. It cost $700. I knew because Jessica had left the brochure on the counter. She came out holding a mug. She smiled, pleased with herself. Looks great, right? A real upgrade. I stared at the machine, then at the dying bushes. My voice was quiet. Jessica, the hydrangeas. She waved a dismissive hand. Oh, those. They were in the way. This spot is perfect for the new machine. It has to be protected from direct sun. They'll die back there, I said. My voice was shaking. They need sunlight to bloom. Well, we need good coffee, she said lightly. She wasn't joking. She truly did not understand. She saw old flowers. I saw my marriage. I saw my husband's hands in the dirt. I saw years of shared joy. That's when Michael came out. He heard our voices. He saw my face. He saw his wife's stubborn expression. He sighed, annoyed, like this was a huge inconvenience, like his mother's heartbreaking was a scheduling conflict. What's going on? He asked. Your mother is upset about the bushes, Jessica said. She rolled her eyes, as if I were a child throwing a tantrum. I turned to my son. I thought he would understand. Michael, we planted those together, your father and I. He wouldn't meet my eyes. He looked at his shoes. He looked at the sky. Anywhere but at me. Mom, it's just a few plants. Jess is trying to make the place nice. This isn't nice, I said. The tremor in my voice was gone. It was replaced by something cold, something hard. This is cruel, Jessica scoffed. Oh, dramatic much. They're flowers, Carol. That's when I looked at her, really looked at her. I saw the entitlement, the casual cruelty, the absolute certainty that this world belonged to her, that my world belonged to her. This is my home, I said. Michael stepped forward. His face was red with anger, not at his wife, at me, for causing a problem, for not being quiet, for not just disappearing into the gray walls. He pointed a finger at me, and he shouted the words that changed everything. The world went silent. The birds stopped singing. The traffic on the street faded away. There was only his voice, his words, hanging in the air between us, her house. He said it. He believed it. He had given my home away, and he didn't even notice. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I just nodded. A small, slow nod. I looked from my son's angry face to his wife's triumphant smirk, and I understood. My kindness had been mistaken for weakness. My patience had been seen as permission. My love had been taken for granted. Okay, I said. Just that one word. I turned and walked back inside. They probably thought I had given up. They thought they had won. They went back to their coffee. They talked about their important day. They left a few minutes later in their expensive car. They were heading to their important jobs. They left me alone in the house they thought was theirs. They were so wrong. The moment their car turned the corner, I moved. There was no hesitation. The shock had burned away everything but purpose. I walked to the old roll-top desk in the study. Frank's desk. I opened the bottom drawer. I took out the heavy metal lockbox. The key was on the chain around my neck. I never took it off. Inside were our important papers. My birth certificate, Frank's death certificate, and the deed to this house. I spread it out on the desk. My name was right there, Carol Miller, sole owner. The words were a shield. They were a weapon. I picked up the phone. My hands were steady. I dialed a number I knew by heart. It rang twice. A familiar gruff voice answered. "Hank's locksmith." "Hank," I said. "It's Carol." There was a pause. Then his voice softened. "Carol, how are you? It's been too long." Hank was Frank's best friend. They grew up together. He was the closest thing I had to a brother. "I'm fine, Hank. I need a favor, a big one." "Anything. You name it." "I need you to come over right now. I need you to change every lock on my house. The front door, the back door, the garage, everything." Another pause. Longer this time. Hank was a smart man. He didn't ask questions I didn't want to answer. He just processed it. "Trouble?" he finally asked. "The worst kind," I said. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, he said, and hung up. I put the deed back in the box. I locked it. I sat in Frank's old leather chair. For the first time in 3 years, I felt the silence. Not the heavy, lonely silence of grief. This was different. It was the quiet before a storm, the calm of a decision made. I had given my son everything. I sold my professional serger machine, the best one I ever owned. I got $800 for it. I used it to pay for his first semester of college. I cheered for him. I supported him. I built my life around his success. And he stood on my porch and called me a guest in my own home. The shame was gone. The hurt was still there. But it was hardening into something else, something useful. It was becoming fuel. I heard Hank's truck pull into the driveway, the familiar rattle of his old Ford. I stood up. I walked to the door to let him in. He stood on the porch, his tool belt around his waist. A big man with kind eyes and calloused hands. He looked at my face. He saw everything he needed to see. "Let's get to work," he said. He started on the front door. The sound of his drill was loud in the quiet house, a high-pitched whine that cut through the air. He worked quickly, efficiently. He pulled out the old lock cylinder, the one my son's key fit into. He tossed it into a bucket. It made a dull clatter, the sound of a connection being broken. He unwrapped the new lock. It was shiny brass. He slid it into place. He tightened the screws. Each turn was a declaration. Mine, mine, mine. He handed me a new set of keys. They felt heavy in my palm, solid, real. "One for the front, one for the back," he said. "Same key for both knobs and deadbolts." He moved to the back door. I stood there, watching him. Each click of his tools was a note in a new song. The song of my freedom, the sound of a boundary being drawn. Not in sand, but in steel. They didn't know who I was. They saw an old woman. They saw someone who cooked their meals. They forgot who built the walls they slept within. They were about to get a reminder. Hours passed after Hank's truck drove away. The house settled around me. It was a different kind of quiet now. Not loneliness. It was peace. I walked through the rooms. I touched the gray walls. They felt like a cage I had just escaped. I ran my hand over the wooden mantel. I promised Frank I would find his picture. I would put it back where it belonged. I made a pot of tea, the strong black tea he always liked. I sat in his old leather chair. I held the warm mug in my hands, and I waited. I knew they usually got home around 6. The sun began to set. Long shadows stretched across the lawn. I wasn't scared. I wasn't nervous. I felt a stillness I hadn't felt in years. I was a mountain, and they were just a storm that was about to break against me. Headlights swept across the living room wall. Their car pulled into the driveway. The engine cut off. I heard their doors slam shut. Then their familiar footsteps on the stone path. Their voices were light. They were laughing about something at work. The sound was jarring. It didn't belong in my quiet house anymore. I heard the jingle of keys. A key slid into the new lock. It didn't turn. Another try. A frustrated jiggle. "What's wrong with the door?" Jessica's voice, sharp, impatient. "I don't know. The key's not working," Michael mumbled. Silence. Then the sound of him trying his key again. It scraped uselessly against the new metal. It stuck or something. I heard Jessica walk up the steps. "Here, let me try." More scraping, more jiggling, then a heavy sigh. "Did you break your key?" "No, it was fine this morning." A polite knock came. Tap, tap, tap. "Mom, are you in there?" Michael called out. His voice was normal, like he was just locked out by accident. I didn't move. I took a slow sip of my tea. The warmth spread through my chest. The knocking got louder. "Mom, open the door!" Now his voice was tight, strained. Then came Jessica. She didn't knock. She pounded. Her fist hit the solid oak door. Thump, thump, thump. The whole frame rattled. "Carol, open this door right now. What is this, some kind of joke?" I stared out the window. The sky was turning a deep purple. The first star appeared. Michael started yelling too. "Mom, for God's sake, let us in. It's cold out here." Their shouts turned into a tangled mess of anger. Accusations flew through the thick wood of the door. They called my name. They demanded I let them in. Jessica screamed the words I was waiting for. "This is our house, too. You can't do this." I closed my eyes. I heard the lie in her voice, the desperate claim to something she never earned, she never respected, she never loved. She had only ever tried to conquer it. My silence was my answer. It was a wall. They could not break down. Their yelling continued for 20 minutes, or maybe 30. I lost track of time. Finally, it stopped. I heard them stomping back to their car. Doors slammed again. The engine roared to life. Tires squealed as they backed out of the driveway. They sped off down the street. The red of their taillights disappeared into the dark. And the house was quiet again. My house. My phone rang the next morning at 8 o'clock sharp. I knew it would be Michael. I let it ring 3 times before I answered. I didn't say hello. I just waited. "What the hell was that last night?" he demanded. There was no greeting, just pure, unfiltered rage. "You know what that was," I said calmly. "You locked us out of our own house. We had to sleep in a motel, a dirty, disgusting motel." I pictured the expensive espresso machine on the porch, the one that was more important than my memories. "That sounds unpleasant," I said. My voice was even. I would not give him the fight he wanted. "We're coming over to get our things," he said. It wasn't a request. It was an order. "No," I replied. "What do you mean, no? Our clothes are there. Our computers. Jessica's entire life is in that office." "You can get your things from the porch," I said. "I will pack them for you. They will be ready for you to pick up tomorrow." He was sputtering now. "The porch? You're not going to let me in my own—" He caught himself. He didn't finish the sentence. Maybe a small piece of him remembered. "You may enter my house again, Michael," I said, my voice like ice. "You may come inside when you come to my door alone, and you offer a sincere apology for what you said to me." He laughed, a bitter, ugly sound. "You're insane. You know that. You're a crazy old woman. I'm calling the police. I'll tell them you've lost your mind and locked me out." I took a deep breath. "Go ahead, Michael. Call them. The deed to this house is in my name, and only my name. You are a tenant with no lease. I have given you notice to vacate. Your belongings will be made available to you. Any officer of the law will tell you the same thing. Ask your wife. She's a paralegal. She knows all about real estate." The line went dead. He had hung up on me. I put the phone down. I felt no triumph, just a deep, aching sadness. I started in their bedroom. I took down the gray curtains. I found 4 large cardboard boxes in the garage. I began to pack. I folded his shirts, the ones I had bought him for Christmas. I packed her expensive shoes, rows and rows of them. I cleared out the office she had created, her law books, her files, her huge, glossy monitor. I worked all day. I did not stop for lunch. Each item I packed was a weight lifted. By evening, 10 boxes were neatly taped and stacked by the front door. The next morning, I moved them onto the porch, one by one. I arranged them in a neat line. Like presents no one wanted. Then I went back inside, and I locked the deadbolt behind me. A few days later, a different car pulled up. It was a sleek, white BMW. A woman I didn't know got out. She was older than Jessica, dressed in a sharp business suit. She walked up my path with a purpose. She didn't knock. She rang the doorbell 3 times, fast. I opened the door. She gave me a tight, professional smile. "Carol Miller, I'm Kimberly Price, Jessica's sister." I didn't invite her in. I just stood there. "I know who you are." "Good," she said, trying to step past me into the hall. I didn't move. She stopped, surprised. "Can I come in? I think we need to talk." "We can talk right here," I said. Her smile vanished. "Look, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but you need to stop. You've thrown your son and his wife out onto the street." "I gave them a home for 3 years," I answered. "They chose to disrespect it. Now they are facing the consequences." Kimberly shook her head. She looked at me with pity, like I was a confused animal. "Jessica is a modern woman. She has drive. She has ambition. She was trying to improve this place, to bring it into the 21st century. You should be grateful." "Grateful that she tore out my garden? That she erased every memory of my husband?" "They're just things," she snapped. Her voice was getting louder. "Houses are assets, Carol, not museums. Jessica understands that. She was trying to increase the property value for everyone's benefit, for your benefit." "My benefit was having my son's respect," I said. She let out a frustrated sigh. "This is exactly what happened with her first husband's family. They were the same way, stuck in the past. They couldn't handle a strong, direct woman. They didn't appreciate her honesty either. They ended up kicking her out, too." She said it as an accusation against me, but the words hit me like a revelation, a gift. So this wasn't new. This wasn't a mistake. This was a pattern. This was who Jessica was. It wasn't my fault. I hadn't failed. I had simply been her next target. The knowledge settled deep in my bones. It was armor. I looked at Kimberly. "Thank you," I said. She looked confused. "Thank you for what?" "For making this so clear to me." I started to close the door. "You can tell Jessica she is not welcome here, and you can tell my son that my offer still stands. An apology. At my door. Alone." I shut the door before she could say another word. I leaned against it. I had been right. All along, I had been right. 2 weeks passed. The silence in the house became normal again. I bought new flowers for the porch, bright yellow chrysanthemums. I started sewing again. The hum of the machine was a comfort. Then the phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. I answered cautiously. "Mom?" It was Michael. His voice was strained. All the anger was gone. It was replaced by something else. Desperation. I lost the Henderson project at work," he said. "There was too much going on. I missed a deadline, a big one." I stayed silent. "They've put me on probation." He continued, his voice cracking. "Jess is furious. We're burning through our savings. The motel, food. It's all so expensive. We found an apartment, but we need first and last month's rent, plus a security deposit." He paused. "Mom, I need to borrow some money." I thought of the $800 from my serger, the money that started his career, the career that now paid him over $100,000 a year. "No, Michael," I said. My voice was firm, but not unkind. "Please," he begged. Just until I get back on my feet. I'll pay you back, I swear." "The answer is no," I repeated. "You are 32 years old. You have a good job. You would not be on the street if you had valued the home you grew up in. This is a problem you and your wife need to solve on your own." I hung up the phone. My hand was shaking. It was the hardest thing I had ever done. Another week went by. The phone rang again late on a Friday night. It was the same unknown number. This time, his words were slurred. The sound of a loud bar was in the background. He was drunk. "She gave me a choice," he said, his voice thick with self-pity. "Jessica, she told me it's her or you. She said I have to choose, to cut you out completely, never talk to you again, or she's leaving me." He was crying now, the pathetic, sloppy sobs of a drunken man. I felt a flicker of pity, but it was quickly extinguished by a cold dose of reality. He was a grown man crying over a choice he had already made long ago. He made it when he let her paint the walls. He made it when he let her take down the photos. He made it when he stood on my porch and yelled at me. I did not offer comfort. I did not offer sympathy. I offered him the truth. "That isn't a choice, Michael. That's an ultimatum from a woman who wants to control you. It's time for you to grow up. Go home. Sober up. Find a way to fix the mess at your job. And when you are ready to be a man, not a child, you can come to my door. You can come for a serious conversation. You will come alone." I ended the call. The silence that followed was absolute. I had laid out the terms. The next move was his. He could choose his wife's control, or he could choose the long, hard road back to his family, back to himself. I had no idea which way he would turn. A week of solid silence passed. I did not know what was happening. I did not try to find out. I had set my terms. The line had been drawn. Then my phone rang. It was an unknown number again. I expected Michael in another drunken state. I almost didn't answer, but I did. A woman's voice spoke. It was hesitant, quiet. It was Jessica. "Carol?" she asked. "Please don't hang up." I listened. The silence stretched between us. I wanted to say I'm sorry, she finally managed. The words sounded foreign in her mouth, stiff and unnatural. For everything. For the flowers. And for... I cut her off. My voice was not angry. It was just tired. Tired of words over the phone. Tired of easy, empty gestures. "Jessica, if you want to apologize to me, you come to my home. You look me in the eye and you say it." I didn't wait for a reply. I ended the call. Maybe she would come. Maybe she wouldn't. It was her choice. I had given up trying to predict her. Or my son. I put the phone down and went to water my new chrysanthemums. I would focus on what I could grow, what I could control. 2 days later, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Jessica on my porch. She was alone. She was not the same woman who had pounded on my door. Her shoulders were slumped. Her expensive suit was replaced by simple jeans. Her face was pale. She held a large bouquet of white lilies. They trembled slightly in her hands. She met my gaze. Her eyes were full of something I had never seen there before, fear, and maybe, just maybe, shame. I stepped aside. It was an invitation. She walked into the entryway, the one she had painted gray. She stood there awkwardly, like she was a guest for the first time. "Thank you for seeing me," she said. I led her to the kitchen. I motioned for her to sit at the table, the old wooden table she had wanted to replace. I filled a vase with water for the flowers. I placed them in the center of the table. Their heavy, sweet scent filled the room. I sat down across from her. I did not offer her tea. I just waited. "I was wrong," she began. The words came out in a rush. "I was so wrong, Carol. I treated you horribly. I treated this house like it was mine to change, like your memories didn't matter." She looked down at her hands. "When we were locked out, when we were in that awful motel, I was so angry at you. But then Michael lost the project, and everything started falling apart. And I realized I had broken everything. Tears started to well in her eyes. "The truth is," she whispered, "I was jealous. I was jealous of this house, of the history you and Frank had here, of the way Michael looked at you, like you were the only person who mattered. I thought if I could change the house, make it mine, then maybe I could feel like I belonged, like I was in control." She finally looked up at me. "It was a terrible, ugly thing to do. I am so, so sorry." I listened to every word. I saw the truth in her tear-filled eyes. It wasn't an excuse. It was a confession. I thought about the years of small cuts, the daily indignities, the final brutal insult on the porch. Forgiveness was a distant country. I wasn't ready to go there yet, but her words were a map, a first step on a long road. I just nodded slowly. "The damage is done, Jessica. An apology doesn't fix it." "I know," she said, her voice breaking. "I know, I want a chance to start trying." Michael came later that afternoon. He knocked softly on the door. When I opened it, I saw a changed man. His eyes were clear. He was clean-shaven. The arrogance was gone. He just looked tired and sad. He stepped inside and stood next to his wife in my kitchen. They looked like two lost children. I did not let them stand. "Sit," I said, my voice firm, "both of you." They sat at the kitchen table. They looked at the white lilies between them. I remained standing. I was the head of this house. They needed to understand that. "I've heard Jessica's apology," I started. "And I've heard your drunken confession, Michael. Apologies are words. They are a start, but they are not enough. If you want to come back to this house, things will be different. Not like they were before. Not even close. There are new rules. These are not negotiable. You will agree to every single one, or you will turn around, walk out that door, and never come back. Do you understand me?" They both nodded, their eyes wide. They didn't dare to speak. "Rule number 1, I said, holding up a finger. "Respect. You will speak to me with respect in my home. There will be no raised voices, no dismissive tones, no rolling your eyes. You will treat me as the matriarch of this family, not as your maid." I held up a second finger. "Rule number 2, agreement. Nothing in this house changes without my permission. Not a paint color, not a curtain, not a single flower in my garden. This is my home. We will discuss any changes as a family. My decision is final. Rule number 3, no aggression. You will learn to solve problems with words, calm words. There will be no more shouting, no more ultimatums. You will talk through your issues like adults. Rule number 4, responsibility. You will be responsible for your actions and your words. No more blaming, no more excuses. You own your mistakes. You fix them. I paused, letting the words sink in. I looked at both of them. Their faces were serious. They understood. "And rule number 5, I said, my voice softer but just as firm. Shared household. We are a family living under one roof. We all contribute. You will cook, you will clean, you will do your own laundry, you will help with the yard work. We will share the burden of this house equally," I finished. The kitchen was silent. The only sound was the ticking of the clock on the wall, a clock that had been a wedding gift to me and Frank 50 years ago. "Those are the terms," I said. "Take them or leave them." Michael looked at Jessica. She looked back at him. Then he turned to me. There were tears in his eyes. "We accept, Mom," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "We accept all of it, unconditionally." Jessica nodded beside him. "Yes, Carol, we do." I looked at them for a long moment. "All right then," I said. "Let's start by making some dinner, together." That first dinner was awkward. We moved around the kitchen carefully, like we were learning a new dance. We bumped into each other. We apologized too much. But we did it. We chopped vegetables side by side. We seasoned the chicken. We set the table. We sat down and ate a meal we had all prepared. It was the first time in 3 years that felt true. The next 6 months were a trial. There were days it was hard. Old habits tried to creep back in. I would see Jessica about to make a decision on her own, and I would just have to look at her. She would stop. "Sorry," she'd say. "Carol, what do you think about this?" It was a slow process, like turning a huge ship. It took time and effort from everyone. Jessica truly tried. She started asking me about the house, about the stories behind the old furniture. She helped me replant the hydrangeas. We went to the nursery together to pick them out. We dug in the dirt side by side. Her expensive manicure was ruined. She didn't seem to care. Michael found a new job at a smaller company. The pay was less, but the stress was gone. He seemed lighter, more like the boy I had raised. He started fixing things around the house, the leaky faucet, the rattling screen door. One Saturday, he started repairing the porch, the very porch where he had wounded me so deeply. He pulled up the old, warped boards. He laid down new, strong ones. He was using his father's old tools. The sound of his hammer was the sound of healing, the sound of a man rebuilding more than just a set of stairs. He was rebuilding my trust. Slowly, the gray chill in the house began to fade. It was replaced by something new, not the old warmth. You can never go back completely. It was a different kind of warmth, one that was earned, one that was built on a foundation of respect, not just assumed love. The story ends here, on a warm summer evening, a year after it all began. We are all sitting on the newly repaired porch. The air is thick with the scent of honeysuckle and the sweet smell of my blooming hydrangeas. Their flowers are bigger and bluer than ever before. We are drinking iced tea. The quiet between us is comfortable, easy. Jessica is telling a funny story about her new boss. Michael is laughing, a real deep laugh that comes from his belly. It's a sound I thought I had lost forever. The setting sun paints the sky in shades of orange and pink. It reflects off the windows of the house. My house. I look at my son and my daughter-in-law. They are not the same people who lived here before. They are scarred. They are changed. But they are better. We are better. In the end, I didn't just fight for walls and a roof. I fought for my own dignity. And in doing so, I showed them the meaning of family, of home. I went through the worst storm of my life. I had to become hard as steel to survive, but I found my peace, not by giving in, but by drawing a line and teaching them with love and with firmness how to never cross it again. The house under the magnolia shade was finally quiet, not with the silence of loneliness, but with the gentle breathing peace of a family reborn. I appreciate you staying with me through this story. If it reminded you of something in your own life, or if you just want to share how it made you feel, leave a comment. I'd love to read it. Your stories are important. And if you enjoyed this, please like the video and subscribe for more. Stay kind to yourself and see you soon.